To escape nightmares, I became a medium to investigate the school beauty's secrets, uncovered the vengeful phantom behind her. I cohabited with the Dragon King and met a fox demon, and also learned that the senior has a ghostly twin brother. Mysteries remain unsolved. I took a moment to process what Evan Thorne had said. His meaning was clear. I had to go find Chloe and figure out why she was radiating such intense negative energy. Chloe was the campus queen of Cloud City University. If I suddenly went up to ingratiate myself with her, people would probably think I was a sycophant trying to curry favor. What's more, Chloe would most likely ignore me. Just thinking about it made my face scrunch up. I'll admit, I'm a bit socially anxious. But the thought of these emotions lingering around me forever made my face twist into an even bigger frown, like a bitter melon. In the end, I made up my mind. I'd take on this medium role. I'd go find Chloe tomorrow. Made up your mind? Evan looked at me with a smirk. I looked up and locked eyes with his deep, smiling gaze. For a split second, I was dumbfounded, but I quickly snapped back to reality. How did you know? Evan's tone was teasing. Your face changed 100 times in a second. You must have struggled a lot mentally, huh? I silently covered my face and turned away, not wanting to dolly him. I just wanted to hug my poor, helpless self. After a while, not hearing any movement beside me, I couldn't help but turn around to see what Evan was doing. To my surprise, I found him leaning against the windowsill, lost in thought. He stared at the moonlight outside the window, its bright glow reflecting in his eyes. The moonlight poured down on him, adding a rare touch of softness. My gaze involuntarily fell on his fair, bare feet. I hopped out of bed and tiptoed over to him. Looking at the shiny anklet under the moonlight, I couldn't contain my curiosity. I whispered, Evan, is this thing on your ankle pure gold? I'd been wanting to ask that question for ages, so I looked at him with full expectation. That anklet was both mysterious and exuded a forbidden beauty. At my words, Evan clearly choked. His expression then darkened instantly, as black as the bottom of a pot. Lila listened to me carefully. His voice was icy cold. If you ever dare mention what's on my foot again, I'll make your life a living hell. I'm only saying this once. The softness Evan had shown moments ago was gone. His eyes were filled with overwhelming hatred, mixed with a hint of unidentifiable emotion. Just one look from him made my blood run cold. It was obvious the anklet was Evan's forbidden topic. Now that he'd spoken so harshly, there was no way I'd dare ask again. Okay. I'll never ask again. I raised my hand as if swearing an oath. Seeing how terrified I was, the violent aura around Evan subsided a little. He looked at me. Did I scare you just now? I nodded, shrinking my neck. The way he'd looked at me just now was like he was going to kill me on the spot. It was terrifying. I swore to myself that I'd never ask about that anklet again. Evan stood up and approached me. He reached out and gently stroked my face, his voice dropping a little. As long as you obey me, you'll be safe. Understand? Yes. I nodded quickly. What about Chloe? Go alone. Evan let go of me and turned around, leaving me with a lonely back. Fine, I didn't dare ask him for help anyway. I had to handle my own problems in the end. Come on, Lila. Grow a thicker skin. There's no shame in it if it means surviving. Before dawn broke, I asked Evan to take me back to the dorm. After all, it was a long way from here to the school, and I didn't know the way. Without a word, Evan lifted me onto his shoulder and took off into the air. No warning at all. Luckily, everyone was still fast asleep when I got back to the dorm, so I didn't wake anyone up. Early the next morning, I packed up all my luggage. Evan was right. My current state wasn't suitable for living in the dorm. Besides, I'd already stepped into a whole new world, one that was bizarre, terrifying, and full of the unknown. When Sophia saw me getting ready to move out, her eyes widened. She grabbed my suitcase tightly. Are you moving out to live with someone? Who? Your fiancé. Yeah. I nodded softly, not knowing how to explain it to her. Sophia opened her mouth as if she wanted to ask something, but in the end, she held back, probably thinking it was my personal business. Her expression looked a little downcast, and her deer-like eyes were filled with reluctance. "You look like I'm dying." I hugged her and said gently, "I'm just moving out. We can still hang out in our free time." Sophia finally nodded reluctantly, then added, "Take care of yourself. You've looked terrible these past few days, like you're possessed by a ghost." I froze for a moment. She was right, I wasn't actually possessed, but I was pretty close to it. I had to get rid of these lingering emotions as soon as possible. After saying goodbye to my roommates, I dragged my suitcase out of the dorm. To my surprise, I saw Silas and Chloe standing together at the school gate, looking very close. When Silas saw me with my suitcase, he frowned slightly and strode toward me. Chloe, who was beside him, glanced at me with a flash of displeasure before trotting along behind Silas. By the time she reached me, Chloe had put on her usual gentle and beautiful smile, standing gracefully. No wonder she was the campus queen. Everyone would praise her. But as soon as she got close, that familiar feeling of resentment and anger hit me like a wave. My face changed, and I quickly stepped back a few steps. Only after putting some distance between us did that suffocating feeling fade away. The problem was definitely with Chloe. Seeing my reaction, Silas glanced at Chloe and told her to stay where she was while he walked closer to me. Chloe's gaze toward me turned even colder, but she hid it well, though not well enough to escape my notice. From the first time she'd thrown herself into Evan's arms when she saw him, I'd known Chloe wasn't as gentle and kind as she seemed. Add to that all the gossip Sophia had told me. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost," Silas said, his eyes falling on my suitcase. "Are you moving off campus?" "Yes." I tried to leave with my suitcase, but he grabbed it and stopped me. I looked at him, both angry and confused. "Senior Silas, what are you doing? People are watching." Silas's expression didn't change. "Where are you going?" "I'll drive you. My car's outside." I was so scared my heart almost stopped. Last time I'd gotten in his car, I'd nearly lost my life. No. I can go by myself. Thank you for the offer." With that, I dragged my suitcase away as fast as I could, hailed a taxi, and fled. Evan lived in a vintage single-family villa in the suburbs. I'd never been there during the day, and I didn't expect it to be so far. The taxi fare made my heart ache. I suddenly regretted moving out so impulsively. It was not only far from the school, but also in the middle of nowhere. It would take me nearly 20 minutes just to walk to the bus stop. I hadn't even knocked when the door opened on its own. A boy around 10 years old stood behind it. He didn't seem surprised to see me. Instead, he had an old-fashioned look on his face. "You're here. Come in," the boy said. He wasn't surprised, but I was shocked, speechless. The boy was extremely handsome, and even at such a young age, you could tell he'd be breathtaking when he grew up. Most incredible of all, his hair was silvery white, and he had a pair of fluffy ears on top of his head. I froze in place. I knew Evan was the Dragon King and looked human, but this young boy had fox ears. My hands instantly itched. I really wanted to reach out and touch his ears to see if they were as soft as I imagined. I had no resistance to fluffy things, except caterpillars, of course. The young boy noticed my fidgeting hands and twitched his lips. "You'd better keep your hands to yourself. Otherwise, I can't guarantee where they'll end up, like in the trash can." I froze for a second, then realized what he meant. If I dared touch him, he'd cut off my hand? I sadly slapped my restless hand. "Lila, what are you thinking? Stop being so reckless." But why hadn't I seen this boy during my previous visits? "Are you going to stand there all day like a decoration?" The young boy glared at me impatiently. He was so cute, but why was he so rude? I awkwardly dragged my suitcase into the yard. Following behind him, I noticed he also had a big, fluffy tail the same color as his ears. As we walked, the young boy said, "Only Evan and I live in Return Manor, and now you're here too. You can call me Hugo from now on." I was busy looking around the villa when I heard him. I froze, thinking I'd misheard. "Hugo." The young boy turned around, looking annoyed. "Why are you so rude, making such a fuss? I'm much older than you. Is it too much to ask you to call me Hugo?" Looking at his fox ears and tail, I guessed he must be a fox demon. Since he was a demon, he was definitely much older than me. No, not at all, Hugo, I quickly replied. Hugo nodded in satisfaction. Since you called me Hugo, you can come to me if you need anything in the future. I was overjoyed this Hugo wasn't in vain. Then he added, Evan isn't here today. If you're looking for him, you'll have to wait a few days. Where did he go? I asked instinctively. Hugo twitched his ears. Every month from the 15th to the 18th, he's not at Return Manor. No one can find him these 3 days. I nodded. Even though I didn't know where Evan had gone, he must have his own things to do. I didn't want to trouble him if I could help it. Your room is already over there. Go by yourself. I'm going to cook, Hugo said before turning toward the kitchen. I went to the room he'd mentioned. As soon as I opened the door, I was shocked by the decor. A perfect blend of ancient and modern styles, incredibly beautiful. There was even a carved bed the same as Evan's, covered with soft, fluffy quilts. It had all the furniture and appliances I needed, and there was a dressing table filled with all kinds of bottles and jars I'd never seen before. My curiosity was instantly piqued. I was busy examining the bottles when Hugo walked in. He glanced at me and said, Dinner's ready. I was just getting hungry, so I immediately followed him out. When I saw the table full of delicious-looking food, I was shocked again. How had Hugo prepared such a big meal in such a short time? Eat quickly, Hugo said, glancing at me as he started eating. If you lose weight, Evan might pluck my fox fur when he gets back. Hearing that, my heart skipped a beat. I didn't expect Evan to care about me so much. Feeling a little giddy, I picked up my bowl and started eating. I'd taken the day off. After dinner, Hugo went out and told me to make myself at home. I'd planned to rest well, but the negative energy from Chloe kept lingering around me. As soon as I closed my eyes, I had nightmares about being bullied by a group of students with blurry faces. The emotions in the dreams were even stronger than in reality, leaving me feeling terrible even after I woke up. Early the next morning, Hugo stuffed 10 meat buns bigger than my fist into my arms, telling me to eat them on the way to school. Staring at the heavy buns, I was stunned. Hugo, I can't eat this many, I said. 2 will be enough. But Hugo frowned unhappily. Just take them. You're a young girl. You need to eat well to grow. Without another word, he jumped up, stuffed all 10 buns into my arms, and chased me out the door. Fine, I'd take some to Sophia and the others. But I never expected that before I could go find Chloe, she'd come looking for me first. It seemed like she'd been waiting for me at the school gate. As soon as I got off the bus, I saw her walking toward me from a distance. When she reached me, she looked me up and down, her eyes filled with condescending disdain. You're Lila? What's your relationship with brother Silas? Of course, she must have seen Silas talking to me the previous 2 times and had come to confront me. I shrugged and replied honestly, no relationship. No relationship? Chloe raised her voice, and the passing students immediately shot us curious glances. If there's no relationship, why did he offer to drive you yesterday? I frowned. Why was she being so persistent? If you want to know our relationship, ask your brother Silas. Why ask me? I snapped back. What had I done to deserve this? She was giving me attitude for no reason, and I was getting annoyed. You. Chloe was lost for words. I glared at her. Me what? The road is so wide, but you keep blocking me no matter which way I go. What do you want? Or is your butt so big that you need to take up the whole road? When Chloe heard "but so big," her face turned bright red, and she glared at me, both embarrassed and angry. How vulgar you are. I rolled up my sleeves, ready to retort, when I heard a clear, gentle laugh. Sorry, I know I shouldn't laugh in this situation, but I couldn't help it. It was Silas. I didn't know when he'd arrived, but he was standing not far away, looking at Chloe and me with a smile. How dare he laugh? I was about to call him over to control his girl when it suddenly hit me. I'd been worrying about how to get close to Chloe, and this was the perfect opportunity. But with the current misunderstanding, I doubted I'd be able to get any information from her easily. I cleared my throat, softened my tone, and called out to Silas. Senior Silas, you're just in time. Please explain to Queen Chloe that we're just ordinary schoolmates. Upon hearing this, Silas walked toward us, and the onlookers grew even more excited, watching us eagerly. I'd hoped Silas's explanation would ease Chloe's hostility toward me, but instead, he frowned and said to Chloe in a cool tone, "Didn't I tell you before that my business has nothing to do with you?" Chloe froze. "Brother Silas, we're not close. Don't call me brother." Silas's voice was still gentle, but it carried a clear sense of distance. Chloe trembled all over. Her gaze toward me turned even more hostile after that. Silas suddenly turned to me. "Come with me. I have something to say to you." I wanted to refuse. But before I could say no, Silas grabbed my wrist and pulled me quickly toward the school. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't break free. I could only be dragged along by him. Amid Chloe's angry stares and the other students' shocked looks, we rushed all the way to the school cafeteria. "There are a lot of people here. You won't be scared to talk here, right?" Silas stopped and turned to me. Seeing the crowd around us, I felt a little more at ease, but I had no appetite in front of Silas. The image of Evan crushing his head that night still made me feel physically sick. "Senior, let's get this over with today," I said. "I don't want to see you ever again after this." Silas smiled helplessly and pushed up his gold-rimmed glasses. "It seems I have a really bad reputation with you." Bad reputation? That was an understatement. He was a nightmare. I pressed my lips together and said nothing, waiting for him to speak. Seeing that I wasn't going to say anything, Silas continued. "Thank you for giving me a chance to explain. The person who hurt you that night was my twin brother, Elias. He was in poor health after he was born and passed away at a young age. My father couldn't bear to part with him, so he listened to a fortune teller and buried him in a remote town, hoping that one day he would come back. I always thought it was just the fortune teller comforting my father, but not long ago, he really came back. I know it sounds incredible. I only found out the truth recently. I hope he didn't hurt you too much." I stared at Silas in shock. How could he accept the fact that his twin brother had become a ghost so calmly? "Where is he now?" I pressed. 90% of my lost soul fragment was probably with Elias. But Silas just shook his head gently. "I don't know." He paused, hesitated for a few seconds, then said, "There's something I have to tell you. My brother Elias can take physical form at night. So if you see me at night, you have to be careful." So the ghost who'd tried to eat me was named Elias. I still looked at Silas warily. "Why are you telling me this? We didn't even know each other before. Who knew if he was telling the truth? What if he was just trying to lower my guard so he could take advantage of me?" I didn't dare trust him easily. "You're innocent," he only said. Of course I was innocent. I was just an ordinary student who'd gotten caught up in this terrible mess. It was terrifying. I took a deep breath and looked at Silas seriously and calmly. "Since you know I'm innocent, I have a favor to ask you. I hope you'll agree." "Go ahead." I'd originally planned to cut off all contact with Silas, but now I needed to find out what had happened to Chloe, and I needed his help. "I need to talk to Chloe alone about something important," I said. "Can you arrange it for me? We had a fight today, and I don't think she'll want to see me." "Is this related to what happened at the banquet the other day?" he asked. "Yes, it is." I didn't hide it. He'd been there that night, so there was no need to keep it a secret. A flash of surprise crossed Silas's eyes, but it disappeared quickly. "Okay, I'll agree." Silas only hesitated for 2 seconds before agreeing to my request. I smiled. "Thank you so much, Senior Silas." Silas and I exchanged contact information, just added each other on WeChat. He said he'd let me know via WeChat once everything was arranged. Before I left, I gave him 2 big meat buns as a thank you. After taking care of this, I felt a little more relaxed, but the thought of meeting Chloe made my heart sink again. Even if I figured out the connection between Chloe and those negative emotions, how would I deal with it? I had to think carefully. Based on the gossip Sophia had told me and the nightmares I'd been having these past few days, it was probably related to the female classmate Chloe had bullied in middle school. I was distracted all day, my mind filled with thoughts of Chloe and how to handle any accidents that might happen. At 6 o'clock in the afternoon, I received a message from Silas. He'd arranged a meeting with Chloe at a Western restaurant not far from the school. I just needed to go there directly, at 8 o'clock that night. After thanking him, I stared at Silas's name in my WeChat contacts, my finger hovering over the delete button. In the end, I didn't delete him. After all, he'd helped me today. I could just avoid contacting him in the future. At 8 o'clock that night, I arrived at the private room of the Western restaurant on time. As soon as I opened the door, Chloe's expression froze, and her smile vanished. She was dressed beautifully that night, a white fairy-like dress with long black straight hair, looking pure and elegant. But when she saw me walking in alone, the smile on her face disappeared completely. "Why is it you?" Chloe widened her eyes and looked at me angrily. "Why can't it be me?" I shot back. I'd noticed a pattern. The angrier Chloe got, the calmer that suffocating negative energy became. The happier she was, the stronger the energy got. So I was sorry, but I had to make her unhappy. I smiled and said, "I have Senior Silas to thank for this. Without his help, would you really be waiting for me here?" Sure enough, at my words, Chloe flew into a rage. She glared at me fiercely. "You still say you have no relationship with Brother Silas. He helped you so much, and you dare say there's nothing between you? Tell me the truth. What is your relationship?" I showed my white teeth and teased her on purpose. "As you can see, he helped me so much. What do you think our relationship is?" "You." Chloe was rendered speechless again, pointing at me with a trembling finger. "Did you ask me here just to make me angry?" "That wasn't my intention. I just wanted to ask her some questions." I was hesitating about how to bring it up when I looked up and saw a faint shadow behind the angry Chloe. The shadow was translucent, a girl shorter than Chloe. She was wearing a faded blue and white school uniform, with thick bangs covering her forehead and a hunched back, exuding an air of inferiority. Looking at the translucent girl, I swallowed hard, my heart pounding with nervousness. The girl stared at Chloe quietly, her eyes filled with overwhelming resentment. But Chloe didn't seem to notice at all. She continued shouting at me. "Lila, I'm warning you. Don't mess with me. My family background is far beyond what an ordinary person like you can imagine. If I want to make your life miserable, you'll have a terrible 4 years at university." I stared intently at the shadow behind Chloe. The girl's eyes blazed with hatred when she heard Chloe's words. I swallowed hard, panicking for a moment, but I quickly calmed down. There was no one here to save me now. I had to rely on myself. The more scared I was, the calmer I needed to be. So after hearing Chloe's threat, I hesitated for only 2 seconds before saying calmly, "When you say terrible, do you mean you'll make me end up like the one lying in Cloud City private hospital? Will you hold my head down and force me to drink dirty chili water? Or hire people to tear my clothes and take indecent videos?" "Chloe, what you did isn't a secret. The truth will always come out. Haven't you noticed anything strange lately?" As soon as I finished speaking, the shadow behind Chloe suddenly turned to me. She tilted her head, her pale, white eyes staring straight at me. In the blink of an eye, that pale face was right in front of me, as if it had teleported. My breath caught in my throat. If I had a weaker constitution, I would have been scared to death by that sudden face-to-face encounter. My eyelids were twitching uncontrollably, and my words had completely shocked Chloe. Her face turned even paler than the shadows, her lips bloodless, and her body trembled slightly. "W, what are you talking about?" I gritted my teeth, ignoring the shadow staring at me, and forced myself to speak. "You know exactly what I'm talking about. I know everything you did in middle school. Don't think that moving to a new city for school can erase your past mistakes." How could I not know? These past few days, I'd been haunted by nightmares every night, empathizing with that bullied girl in my dreams. Her pain felt like my own. How could I not know? Chloe's voice trembled violently. "And no, that's impossible. How could you know? You can't know." She widened her eyes, staring at me in fear and daze, her gaze exactly the same as the shadow beside her.